So I drive 60 miles to Portland, Maine for work. And along the way, there's this really cool bridge that lifts you up and over the Kennebec River. And I just can't help but to notice that just downstream, the river gets split in two by an island. And with a little bit of Google Earth detective work, I learned that not only is it a wildlife preserve, but it's also home to an abandoned homestead from the 1800s. So why don't we add a day onto this commute, load up my kayak with a bunch of gear, see if we can punch through the ice to explore the island, find a place to stay the night, and then get back before work starts tomorrow. All right, I managed to find a decent boat launch here. Now I have about 29 hours left until my first shift starts, so it's time to shut up and gear up. This really interesting paddling experience because the temperature is pretty warm, but obviously the water's freezing. We've got massive chunks of ice flowing down. Now another really interesting thing is that downstream is that way, but you'll see the current going that way. That's because at the lower end of the Kennebec River here, it's very much like tidally influenced. So when the tide's coming in like it is right now, the river will actually reverse flow. This morning, even though I'm going to be going downriver, I'm going to be going up current. All right, this was a decent spot to pull in. I'm gonna bring my boat up a little higher. I don't think there's anybody here, but stealth is the name of the game. This island is called Swan Island. There's actually a ferry that'll take you here in the summer, but in the winter, there's no ferry. I'm sure there's nobody out here. I'm not sure if you're technically supposed to come here in winter, but I'm here. A few hundred years ago, this island was a stronghold for the Kennebec tribe, with fortified structures for their chiefs. After years of violent conflict with European settlers, the island was set up as an epicenter for the logging and fishing industry until the island was cut to soil and the fish killed by extreme pollution, leaving this place uninhabitable for anyone. So it was abandoned until the river was rescued by the Clean Water Act and land designated as a wildlife management area so the pines could grow tall and become a sanctuary for local flora and fauna. What's left of the human history here is to explore before completely decaying back to the earth. Ran into the cemetery. Finding this forced me to take a moment and realize the fact that for over 1,000 years, different peoples had lived out entire lives here, learning the secrets of this 4-mile slice of land isolated by a running river. I have to wonder what of those secrets are lost or guarded in the memories of those tribes and early settlers who lived incomparably different lives to my own. It's getting colder, it's getting darker, and it's starting to rain a little bit, so I'm going to turn this exploration into more of a jog. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking at this point. It's 2 o'clock, which means I've got about 3 good hours of sunlight left. And they're good hours of sunlight. The overcast kind of went away, the wind has died down, and the tide has turned. So that's 3 things in my favor if I want to keep going down the river into Merry Meeting Bay and find an island to sleep on, because technically I really don't know if I'm supposed to sleep on this island. I kind of like the sound of moving on. When in doubt, keep moving, right? For whatever reason, now that the tide is going out, the ice chunks have gotten substantially larger. So it's either going to be more fun or more dangerous, or probably both. So I'm really hoping I'm timing this right. We got the sun coming down. Hour left of sunlight maybe. Let's go. Gonna race the sun. Oh, talk about timing. Friggin' made it. So we've got some big clouds and some rain. I don't have the most bomb-proof setup for tonight. I went with more of a minimalist approach. We're gonna plan for the worst and hope for the best. Okay, I need to find a good place to bring Ellesmere up above the high tide mark. Strong, tiny root. Oh. Atta girl. Okay, so some really good news. Looks like that storm blew over. There's no more wind. I can actually see some stars even, so. Oh, crisis averted. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna sit down, make some dinner, snuggle up next to Ellesmere, and call it a night. Good morning. Can't really film before coffee. Man, what a calm and beautiful morning, huh? Yeah, let's explore the island, pack up our boat, get back on the water. Let's roll. There's something about a grove of tall pines that are sparsely spaced with some grasslands in between that just really gets me. It reminds me of growing up out west in those old ponderosa pine forests. What is this tree? Okie dokie, I think it's time to get on with it. Let's saddle up. All right, I'm on the northern end of the island. Upstream is that way. I've got about 9 miles to paddle, and I've got about 4 hours to get there before I need to commute to work. It's a really big bay and the currents are doing some weird things. So I need to figure out where the main flow of the current is. That's gonna help me a lot. Anyways, I need to make some miles. With self-propelled adventures in tidal waters, you'll never want to fight the tide. So if you plan out your timing ahead, you can use the natural forces to your favor and have the tide pull you where you want to go, like one of those moving sidewalks in the airport. When you're out in the middle of the bay, it's kind of hard to see how fast the tide is going, but this gives you some perspective. I'm gonna run into it. No, not paddling at all. Woo! Oh. Current is ripping. Cooking with sauce, baby. With the tide and weather both in my favor, I could just soak in this last stretch to the car without a need to rush. I didn't really have anything planned for the end of this video, but I think the takeaway is that it's important to explore that childlike sense of wonder and go for an adventure, even if it is on the way to a grown-up job. Also, if you want to see what it's like to kayak out to a deserted military fortress island in the Atlantic Ocean, then you might want to check this out.